Hello guys, this is another WvW video. I seem to be making a lot of these recently, but I've been tweaking the build and I thought 2015 is probably a good time for me to bring it back out, as I've decided to almost relaunch the channel in a new way. I thought I'd do the build again. I've had some changes and different things added to it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the build that I run, the build that you can run, which is easier to get a hold of, as well as different traits and the different sigils you can go for. I'll put a separate video up for you with commentary on me playing the build in World versus World. I will discuss it a little bit now with like the different things that I'm going to be running and how I use them, but I will put them up for you as a separate video so you can have commentary on my gameplay rather than just me talking about it now. So we'll start off with the stats. Most of you know from my channel that I am Celestial. It's something that I run quite a lot. I'm gonna put the right pistol back on. So what we're running at the moment is we're running all ascended Celestial. I've started putting the vitality stuff in. It's just for my own personal preference. You don't need it. Doesn't make that huge a difference, but gives you that little bit more health, so if you want it you can go for it. It takes a long time to get hold of the Celestial stuff, but as you can see we're running the superior runes of strength. They're very strong with the engineer, especially with this build, because that's where we're going to be getting most of our power from. So I'll be explaining that in a little bit. Literally everything is Celestial, including my shield, which isn't ascended yet, but I will be going for it. I've got the superior sigil of accuracy still, but I've changed the superior sigil of strength to the superior sigil of battle. Now battle means that I can stack up might a little bit quicker and a little bit easier, but I still want the crit, because a lot of damage is actually coming from the fact that I have nearly 50% crit. So if you're saying that 50% crit and 186% damage increase on crit, it means that you halve the damage increase. So it's giving me 43% more damage, roughly. I mean, you can work out the actual numbers yourself, but it's pretty damn close to a 43%, maybe a 40% damage increase for being in Celestial every time I crit. So pretty much it's a baseline 40%, and the superior sigil actually gives me a 3% flat out damage increase, I think. You could replace that with superior sigil force, and we'll discuss that, how that works in a little bit, but from what I've heard, the superior sigil force is only good if you are above a certain power threshold, and I don't think we hit that power threshold for it to be viable. So I'm still working on crit chance. Give force a go if you think it's going to be better. I'm still going with a crit, because I think being able to spike a little bit more consistent damage is going to be a little bit better for you. So we're running that pistol shield, strength runes, superior sigil of accuracy, and superior sigil of battle. Now the build is my standard build. It is the 2066 turret bomb healing build. This build is about team play, team survivability, and personal survivability. It's designed to be sitting in the frontline melee train, which is normally completely dominated by guardians and warriors, obviously, and we're designed to sit in there and support them as much as they support us, and I'll go through how that works in a second. We are going with the accelerant pack turrets. Accelerant pack turrets are really strong, as the turrets will explode when killed. There's a whole sort of play style we play with as a guild at the moment, and we're going into, that means actually those explosions are very important for us. If you don't want to take that and you feel it's not that strong, you can take forceful explosives for the increased radius on your bombs. It means you will potentially hit more people and potentially put out more healing. So that is the next best option for you. Anything else is a little bit odd. You could go for empowering adrenaline as well, damage increase when your endurance is not full, but I feel that probably accelerant pack turrets is the stronger one. It's the knockback that can be devastating, especially in a healing situation, Most people have stability, but there will be a few that don't have stability, and not having stability, that will punish them, and it can cause people to accidentally pop their stability and panic rather than when it's needed. So it can cause a huge amount of damage and a huge amount of confusion for the team. So if you want to play a bit more Havoc style, accelerant back turrets. If you want to play a little bit more radius based for team support, forceful explosives, and empowering adrenaline if you feel like you're going to be a little bit cocky. So next we've got Inventions line. The low health response system is just a free heal. It's worth having. Because we're in Celestial gear, we get quite a decent amount of regen from that. When we're struck below the 25% threshold, it gives us some survivability. It's not great, but it works nonetheless. Next you want Energized Armor. Energized Armor is obviously power based on your toughness. That conversion rate means that we don't have to specifically go into getting, for example, sharpening stones to get a decent amount of power. It just gives us a decent amount of power from our toughness, and being Celestial we have quite a bit of toughness, so it's a good trait to start off with. There are other options. Stabilized Armor if you find yourself lacking stability. This works with a trait we will take and I'll discuss in a minute, but it reduces the damage you take when knocked down or stunned by 20%. If you're finding yourself being stunned to death, this is a really good trait to take because it is a huge damage reduction. Next on top of that is Protective Shield. Protective Shield is the weaker of the three so far. It gives you protection, 33% damage reduction for 4 seconds. Every time you get critically hit in WvW, you get critically hit a lot, so it should always be up, but it's only up for a fifth of the time. It's not really worth the hassle, and you become invisible when immobilized. This works really well if you are roaming and you find yourself keep getting like caught out by immobilizers, whatever. But Energized Armor is the top one, followed by Stabilized Armor. They're the two I would take. There's not a really bad option. Metal Plating and Grenade Barrage are weak, but 33% damage reduction to turrets pretty much gives your turrets 33% more uptime. It's an iffy trait. Next is in the Elite, is in the Master line. We'll go for Power Shoes. Power Shoes I prefer to run because it gives me that permanent 25%. If you're running with Guardians, you always have Swiftness, or you should always have Swiftness, so replace it with Elite Supplies. Elite Supplies is so strong because it makes your supply crate devastating for burst. If you can time when to drop a supply crate, you'll give your team Fury, Might, Vigor, Swiftness, as well as extra healing, as well as an AoE stun and a blast finisher. All of this together makes it ridiculously strong. Supply crate is strong on its own, buffing it just makes it ridiculous. So if you can take Elite Supplies, take it. If you're just running around roaming, take Power Shoes. Electro-infused bombs. That is the strongest trait in this tree. People will say Fortified Turret, but Fortified Turret doesn't work that well in team support areas because you can get reflects from better sources for a better area, and it's very rare that you will be using that reflect when it's needed, because you'll be putting the turrets down as an offensive rather than a defensive, so it's a wasted trait in my opinion. Elixir infused bombs is pretty much 500 plus healing every second for your entire group. That's pretty substantial healing, so that's why we take elixir infused bombs. The minor traits are automated medical response, 25% health. We get a heal that doesn't just help you. When you hit 25% health, odds are your team's going to be at low health as well. That gives you a free extra heal every 90 seconds for that reason. And performance enhancement, gain healing power is converted to power. Well, because we're in Celestial, we've got healing power as well. Plus the 300, we get a substantial amount of conversion to power just from the fact that we're in these traits. We're in this line, so it's a great line to go down, especially for World v World. Now, the next trait we've got Elixir B. Elixir B is really strong because it puts retaliation on at the start of a fight. Surprisingly, you may drop to, if you drop to the 75% health mark fast, it's a good confusion for the enemy. You'll find that you'll get burst quite heavy, but it's the finishing you off that will be difficult. And that's because you'll be having retaliation, fury, might, extra damage, extra power coming out. That is so strong when you've just been burst and then suddenly the enemy still wants to try and finish you and you're at about 30% health, which is a significant amount of health for you. You have a high health pool. It's still probably around the 7,500 health. You've got a decent amount of health, you've got a decent amount of healing coming in, you've got the reflex, but they're going to be getting retail damage, so they can't put that pressure into you for a while. 13 seconds of, you know, reduced pressure is going to be handy for you, and it can really turn the tide. And it's a minor trait, you don't even pick it, it just happens. Next we've got protection injection. Gain protection whenever you are disabled, right? This includes stun, daze, knockdowns, knockbacks, you know, they're pretty standard ones, but it means it's up quite a lot of the time because I'm pretty sure it procs when it happens, and stability still means you get the protection up. It doesn't actually matter if it's successful. I don't think, or it didn't seem to be. It might be another trait that I'm getting confused with, but it just gives you that extra bit of protection. That means if you are stunned, for example, a thief jumps you, combine that with Elixir B, you've now got protection for 4 seconds as well as your Elixir B. It slows them down significantly. It's the greatest trait in this. The next one is self-regulating defenses. It's a long cooldown, but it's a, oh my god, everything's gone wrong, let's get out of here. So that is the one I would take. Invigorating speed's not strong in this because we don't have a decent supply of swiftness, and we get vigor from our healing turret and other sources. So protection injection and self-regulating defenses are the stronger one. Acidic coating would be strong if it wasn't for the fact it had a 10-second cooldown. If it had more than that, it would be completely overpowered. I would even take like a 10% trigger chance and a much lower cooldown. But you know, it's a bad trait. So, and we don't have elixirs, so taking fast actions elixirs is pointless. Next is the standard backpack regenerator. Unless you're taking flamethrower, elixir gun, or elixirs, none of these other ones matter. Backpack regenerator, 159 extra healing every second. Great stuff. Did extra damage for boons on you. We're putting out so many boons from our traits. This is a significant damage increase. It's free again. And then finally, experimental turrets is, we take this for the team support. We take it for the fact that we can use all the turrets as blast finishers, buffs our team, buffs us, and works well with the previous trait. So that's why we take that. So that's the build. The other options you can take for this are PTV gear, so soldiers gear, or a mix of soldiers and clerics gear. The more towards clerics you go, the more team survival you will be going for. The more towards soldiers gear, the more personal survival you'll go. I actually have, if I filter through for you, I have both of them here, so you can compare them, the stats side by side. On the left here, I believe we have the soldiers. Yeah, we have the soldiers gear here. So you can see the stats on this side. You get about 3,600 power, and 25 stacks of might in this build is not unreasonable for you to have all the time. Same with this, but we've only got 2,800. We've got significantly less armor. We've got significantly less condition damage on the soldiers, but we've got significantly more healing on the celestial side. Sorry, I completely forgot what I was saying. But we also have significantly more health on here. We have less crit chance and we have less crit damage. As you can see, it's a balancing act. This will give you a lot more survivability here on the left, which is soldiers, and here on the right you'll be doing a lot more sort of just overall pressure and team support. So the reason I went for Celestial is because the overall stat balance is better. You get more stats from being in Celestial than you do for being in Pure Soldiers. But Pure Soldiers is better for survivability. And as I said, if you move towards Cleric side of things, you will find that you'll give your team more team support. So you can balance that way if you don't want to invest the time in getting Celestial gear. Although Celestial gear is the stronger one, and that is what I would go for. So, as you probably saw, I'm recording using Shadowplay. It's really good. I'm enjoying it. But we'll get back to the video. Turrets. We pick mainly turrets and bombs. The reason is because of the way we're built. We're built for turret damage. Now, there are better turrets to pick depending on situations, and that's what the engineer is good at. It can go flexible. If you find that you're getting a lot of protection, Thumper turret might not be the best choice for you, but we'll go through why I've picked these two turrets over anything else. Healing turret is a no-brainer. It's a water field. It's 2 water fields. If you can learn to water field correctly, it's such a strong heal because it's not just for you, it's for your team. That is the important part. Your team, other people can blast in it as well. So now you're supporting your Zerg. You can deploy it while you're running through because you're frontline. You can drop it in the middle. You're putting regen out on people. It's a strong heal. It's a 20-second cooldown because you're going to be blowing it up every time, and it's actually it's a bit of a juggling act to get it to go off at the right time. It's not drop and blow up straight away. It's drop, wait a second, and then blow it up. So it's quite strong as a heal. Other things you can do is you've got a small water field. This water field is almost non-existent, but it is a water field. So the way you would time this is if someone calls for a stun or hammer stun or blast or whatever, you can pop that in a field as the stuns are coming in. If you can time it right, you can get a lot of healing out of it, and it can often counter when people accidentally put the wrong fields down because you're putting this over the top. It's not a waste to do it, but you can also pop it during the middle of fights or whatever and hope that, you know, Guardians are getting the hammer blasts off just passively and you get a little bit more healing. It's quite a strong small water field. Obviously that's the strongest water field. It's still very short, but you have enough blast to get through it. And then we go into the flame turret. Flame turret gives you might for your team. For every 10 seconds this is out, you will get 3 stacks of might. You get 3 stacks initially, and 10 seconds later you get more for 17 seconds. So you will be sitting at 6 stacks of might just from having this flame turret out. It does a little bit of damage. It's not substantial. It's not worth going for the damage. But what it does do is put a blind field down. Now the blind field is strong. It's very, very strong. It overcharges, and as it overcharges, it blinds everyone in the area. Now you can use that to reduce the damage incoming. You can use it to create a stealth field for yourself. You can use it for all sorts of things, and your team can fire through it, and it's a good field to be using. That is why I take flame turret over, say, a different turret that may be quicker on the blast or whatever. Other options people like to take is rifle turret. Rifle turret's on slightly shorter cooldown, does a significant amount more damage, and it grants you fury instead of might. But might is stronger in this build, so we're going for might. Next we have the Thumper turret. Thumper turret is 3 blasts on its own. 3 blasts is strong for healing. It's 2 off the tool belt when it's placed, and 1 is a launch blast as well. So you can clear the area, blast water fields, and detonate it all at the same time, getting 3 blasts. 3 blasts is about 4,500 healing in this build. So you're putting a significant heal out to your team again. Very strong. It also gives your team a 33% damage reduction with protection for 4 seconds. That means it's up 40% of the time, so that's 40% of the time it's up, and it absorbs damage. That's the other thing turrets do. They count as targets, so they absorb more damage. So when you're in an outnumbered situation, you are the equivalent of at least 4 people. Now that suddenly means that the damage that you're taking as a team is significantly lowered. So that's why we take those specific utilities. Supply crate is the obvious one. It drops a stun, a blast, it lasts for 60 seconds, and it puts out flame turrets, so that's another 6 stacks of might. Net turret for immobilizing people, which means you can split up your enemies. Gives you swiftness. The healing turret is extra healing for you. Bandages are extra healing. If you're in elite supplies, you will get fury for your team. And finally, the awesome one is you get vigor as well for your team. So just the buffs that come out from dropping supply crate is ridiculous. I may just drop it now just to show you how many buffs you get just from supply crate. So that comes out. That is 4. That's a 4% damage increase for you straight away. And I forgot to trade it with elite supplies, which would have been a 5% damage increase plus fury, which is another, say, 8% damage increase. It's strong. It's a very powerful elite. And every time someone blows it up from cleave damage, because you've got accelerant pack turrets, that's another potential 4,000 damage. Or, yeah, 4,000 damage coming out just through cleave damage that people are going to be passively getting. It's a little bit bursty. Detonate that with all your other turrets. That's 7,000 burst damage instantly in a small area with knockbacks and all the buffs you get. It's a very, very strong trait. Now, the weapon sets we've gone for, pretty much you're going to be using bomb kit as your primary all the time run round. It may look like you're spamming bombs, and spamming one is a perfectly acceptable tactic. Knowing when to use 2, 3, 4 and 5 effectively and in which orders is something you will learn over time. 4 is defensive. It's a smoke field. It blinds. It does a little bit of healing to you, but it does no damage. But it does keep the enemies off you. 5 is immobilizing. You can put it in the right places and you can split up enemy groups. 3 is offensive and defensive. You put concussion bomb down and it means that they can't attack you effectively because they've got confusion, and if they do, they're going to be taking damage. That is the way you will put pressure into an enemy group without them even knowing. Add that to retail, it looks like you'll be doing around, well, 1,300 every time they press a button to hit you. Plus the fact that your bombs will be going off, which will be doing about another 2,000 damage to them. You've increased your damage significantly when they're pressuring you. Fire fields, obviously useful, both of them here. Burning, you can use it to get might if your turrets are low. If you keep an eye on your turrets, fantastic. You can blast it to give yourself extra might. You can burn, it does a little bit of damage in an area. It pulses, puts some extra pressure on the target, gives you a little breathing room. That's why. But it's a learning game with these. Learning when to use these bombs effectively is much stronger than spamming them, but it may look like you're spamming them and it may feel like you're spamming them. You will know when you've done it right because someone's health will drop rapidly. You'll know when you've done it wrong because your health will start to drop and they're not taking too much damage. It's a balancing act at which you're going to use. I tend to personally put down 4 to bring them in, using 3 and glue bomb to stick them in place. I go 3 then glue bomb. The reason being, they will get confusion and then immobilized in the area if they've got auto attack on. Sometimes they just auto attack extra damage for yourself, and then you can put a firebomb in and it will keep them in the area through the glue bomb to get them to take extra damage. Next we've got the pistol shield combo. Pistol shield is so strong on engineer, and I feel that it could be going in for a nerf, and if that is, that's terrible. 5 is a 1 second block, but a 1.5 second block, sorry, with a 1 second stun. Now the tactic of this is to use the block and then use the throw, because that will be potentially a stun followed by a double daze. It travels out, dazes the enemy, and as it comes back it hits them again to daze them one more time. Normally the travel time is just enough that you'll get a full 2-second daze. That's a 1-second stun followed by a 2-second daze. It's very, very strong, and you can potentially interrupt heals using that, putting them on long cooldowns, giving yourself that little bit of extra pressure. It's a very strong skill. Magnetic Shield is the range equivalent of a block. It reflects all duration, and you can use it to blast your combo fields, knock people back. Pushing people off the edge with this is fun. It's a good way of playing the game. It's on a relatively short cooldown. It's well worth taking. It's well worth having shield just for that alone. But again, you've got to try and push the duration as long as possible to get the maximum use of the previous ability, followed by the second chain. So you don't want to just go bubble blast straight away unless you need it for extra blast healing, but use something else is probably a better idea. Same with shield, you want to get it charged and hold it for as long as possible and then get rid of it, using the maximum amount of both. Now, strong abilities are fragmentation shot is useful if you're chasing people. It won't put a lot of pressure into them, but it stops them getting out of combat and you can chase them. Static shot is great for pulling groups because it puts the blind on. By the time they get to you, it's damaging and they get a little bit of confusion, so you can bounce it around corners as well. If you're clever, there's a good trick you can do using ambient creatures. If someone runs around a corner and you want to hit them, if you can shoot the ambient creature, you can bounce it round a corner and hit them on the back so they don't get to ease up on pressure. Puts confusion on so they can't use abilities while they're there as well. It's really useful. And surprising burst is Poison Dart Volley. Poison Dart Volley doesn't seem to do a lot of damage, but actually if you read the tooltip and you get close enough, it's poison damage. Reduces their healing. 5 darts, which means that you are guaranteed, or almost guaranteed, at least 2 crits, which means that that damage is already going to go up to sort of 400, 500 damage each time. So that's 1,000 damage on top of the fact that you're going to be doing another 3 baseline. That's 2,000 damage just from that one ability. Now that might not seem like a lot, but more than likely you're going to be getting 3,000-4,000 damage off that quite quickly with the poison. Puts the pressure on them. 2.5 seconds stacks as well, so if you can hit all 5, that's 10 seconds of poison. That's enough pressure to be able to put in more damage, especially against those healing signet warriors. So that is my build. This is why I am playing this setup. This is my first video of 2015 officially. I apologize it's taken so long. I did record all of this and then managed to have a huge cock up and everything got deleted and the sound balance was terrible. So thank you for watching. If you have any more questions about this World vs World, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you next time for a flamethrower build, and then hopefully after that my celestial defense. This will be how to play World vs World in a more offensive way. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.